right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for podcast number 44. All right, and this one is an anime expose.
Yes, about my time at Anime Expo.
You could say we're going to be expositing about
Right.
Anime Expo. Or specifically you are. So you had a full-on experience there.
Yes,
And
as
overall,
a con virgin, and
yes.
it was amazing.
Two?
Yes, but
Okay.
the thing is, there were a lot of things that I wish I had known going into it.
And you were pretty educated on what kind of things you should be prepared for going
I
into
thought
it.
I was, but I really wasn't, because you can't replace live experience, because again, I had not been to any conventions before. Anime Expo was my first one. That might have not been the best idea.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So this is going to be information that'll be really helpful for us, and also specifically me. Because we're going
to be going to RTX.
in
Yeah.
August. Okay, so that's really
Right.
cool. So before we get into this, got to give our shout out to our VIP patron, Percy Simmons. He's joined us as a Patreon back in June. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate your support, and it's awesome seeing you in the Discord, specifically in the Body Improvement Club.
Yes,
You're an inspiration, dude. It's legit stuff.
Your Discord username is amazing.
Yes. It's fantastic. All right, guys. So first off, you wanted to kind of go over some of the things that would be helpful tips for people who are not experienced in anime conventions.
Right, because I've had feedback from people of like, oh, here are some things to like keep in mind and stuff, but I still feel like it didn't really communicate how big of a deal those things were.
Okay, so it's a more of a aspect of importance or magnitude of the little piece of advice that you were like, oh, that's a good thing, but you didn't like take it fully to heart.
And that's probably because people would be giving advice on cons in general rather than like the biggest anime con in North America.
Right. How many people were there?
Over 100,000.
Good grief.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It was crazy. But
this isn't some concert.
No. There were concerts there.
Yeah.
You know,
multiple.
But, so yes.
So first things first, you are going to this convention, and you tried to have as much planned out as you could. Yeah. But ultimately, it didn't go as planned.
It went pretty well. It was a good thing that I had a plan going into it, because one of the things, especially the bigger the conventions get, the more you just need to accept that you will not have time for everything. Even if it works out on your schedule, the amount of time that it takes to get from like location to location, you need to know how to get there, but just time spent in line and things like that really ends up coming into play a lot, because a lot of times it'll just I would get to places and it's like, oh, the room's full, we can't let anyone else in, you should have been here an hour early.
Wow.
You know, and that would just happen, right? So be on the conservative side, figure out what are the things that you most absolutely want to see when you're there, and then just make sure you go to those things and get all the information you need.
Okay, so in terms of scheduling, you would say stick for a select number of things that you absolutely must be there for.
And then be overkill and making sure that you get those things in.
Also, just getting there early.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and what's early?
Depends
30
on
minutes. Is that
depends
an hour?
on the thing, but anywhere from an hour to like 2 hours.
Okay,
sometimes
that's pretty good.
So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned getting to and from places. Are you talking about within the convention building itself, or are you talking about getting around the city?
Both, because in the case of Anime Expo, they had the actual convention center, which had like floors and wings and like all kinds of stuff. Just navigating the building was a nightmare.
Oh, bad.
But then they would be like, oh, and then there's like the Microsoft building that we're renting out, and then there's the Marriott, and like, you know, all these other places where it's like, okay, and I have to like keep in mind where all those things are, and you know how to navigate those places when you get there and things like that. So scoping out the area can be really helpful.
It seems like when we'll be going to RTX, one, it'll be a little bit smaller, but not much smaller. Two, that we'll be going as a team, so one of us can be designated navigator, and the other one can be involved in making sure that, you know, the timing of leaving to go to specific things is done correctly. Exactly. So I think that another thing is going probably as a group is really helpful.
I was going by myself. Like, there were people that I was meeting up with there, but it, like, you know, it was still really tough. So,
okay, cool. Okay, so specifically with the whole aspect of like we're going to be RTX and we have badges. Yeah. Like, what are the kind of things you need to be prepped for before the convention even starts with regards to that?
Okay, so ticketing. So when you go to conventions, right, because it's like they'll have like limited amounts of people that can get into certain things and stuff,
right.
especially with like signings and things like that.
Okay.
They'll use ticketing for stuff. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it costs extra. Sometimes it does, you know, for like certain things.
Sure.
But it's just so that they know, okay, you can get in, right?
Okay.
You can get those ahead of time, like not the day of, like as soon as you can. If it's something that you want to do, snap it up as soon as you can, because it can be pretty tough.
Because it's a limited spacing thing.
It's a limited spacing thing, and a lot of the times with signings in particular, this was something that was kind of... I missed a lot of signings I wanted to see, like Colleen Clinkenbeard or whatever, because I didn't understand this part. But there are different kinds of ticketing based on the things that you're going to. So the actual convention might have a ticketing booth for, say, guests of honor. But then there's a different way to do ticketing stuff for, like, say, industry guests, which is something different. And then if they're a part of a specific company that's there, like the Funimation booth in the place, then they will be the ones that have the tickets and also all the information on when the person is actually going to be doing the signing and things like that.
Gotcha.
So a lot of your time is just spent basically getting information. So look into that as much as possible. And again, prioritize, make sure you get your favorite things done.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were the lines like? And since this is 100,000 people and stuff, and I don't think you had some kind of very special ticket or whatever.
No.
You were an average con goer there.
So some of the people that I was meeting up that were going there that had been there previously called it Line Con.
Oh.
And this was in Los Angeles in the middle of a heat wave where things got up to 107 degrees and a lot of the lines were outside. So if you can, bring a gallon jug of water. That will help.
Or
a
a
lot.
Camelback?
Yeah, or a Camelback. Yeah, that'd be ideal. But yeah, lines where it's
maybe
like
an umbrella.
Yeah, like there was literally a point where I sat in line for an hour and a half for a Rooster Teeth animation panel. And I didn't end up getting inside, and this was a line outside in the heat.
Wow.
Yeah, like beginning of the afternoon. Like, it was...
Holy crap.
It was bad.
Yeah, it's intense. Yikes. Okay, so this is a whole, like thing that I think I would be pretty good at with regards to convention and stuff like that. But there's things that can... cause a problem in this that are a positive thing is the whole money thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the convention itself will cost, some, entry fee or what have you.
Right.
But you mentioned, like, secondary costs for things, but I'm guessing also there's the whole aspect of whatever stuff they're selling.
Yeah,
there
so...
that, like, what kind of stuff should people be expecting there?
Well...
Also, that'll lead into the next thing, but, yeah, keep going.
Okay, so, there was a Geek video talking about guide to anime conventions, right? And he mentioned that the merchandise places basically function as black holes for your wallet. I did not quite understand what he meant.
It wasn't literal enough for you?
Yeah, but have a budget going in. Because all those things like add up really quickly, and there can, like, especially at a big con, like, there can be a lot of amazing stuff, and it's like, okay, I need to get that art because it is just so amazing. And then you see like another piece of art,
right.
Oh,
so that ties into the next bit there. Is I'm worried about this because I have to eat a lot. Is how do you even get food if you're in a convention with 100,000 people?
Yeah. Okay, so you
don't?
You don't really or in some cases. So if you can bring food with you, right?
Do they allow it?
Yeah.
Like what I'm thinking is like in terms of security, or also like I don't know. Like,
I mean, Anime Expo had no problem with it. Like if you can bring stuff that's like portable, doesn't require any like preparation or whatever, or like that you pre-prepared, before you like left to the place.
Like Tupperware chicken and
stuff. Because what happened at least at Anime Expo is that they would charge you $9 for a slice of pizza if you're on the convention grounds. Yeah.
Whoa!
So what most people would do is they would leave the actual convention grounds to go to one of the other places within like a mile of the place, right? But
then they'd get out of line con.
They'd get out of line con, and then they'd have to get back in line to get back into the convention center.
Oh my god! So it's a cycle,
right? Yeah, exactly. So you basically just do it when you have time. Like if you miss out on a panel, and it's like, okay, well now I have 3 hours to the next thing I want to be. Okay, I'm going to grab some food real quick, and then go sit in line.
Oh my gosh.
Like it can get pretty crazy. So
what would you tell yourself specifically as like the main 3 things to remember going into Anime Expo 2019? Like
no amount of like, there's no such thing as overkill when it comes to planning ahead for like time.
Okay, so plan ahead and be overkill about it.
Yeah. Like there was a point where I was trying to get into a panel that was actually hosted by Giguk and the Anime Man. They were doing something for Overlord, and the other people were that I went and met up with there. They were really wanting to get into it, right? And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll get into it, and it's fine. And we've set ahead a bunch of time. You know, we'll totally be fine. I got there about an hour and a half early, and the hotel wouldn't even let people off the second floor, off the first floor.
Wow.
Like it was ridiculous. Like, so, yeah. And I kind of just got in by luck.
Wow.
By like managing to get at like when they would make lines, like getting at the front of the line or things like that.
That's ridiculous.
So
you
can never be too sure.
Never be too sure to schedule things ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So what's the second thing then?
Get the tickets. Like that's, I mean, that kind of goes in line with the scheduling ahead of time.
But explain what that means.
Well, so I really wanted to get like, say, Colleen Clinkenbeard's signature. She's Hana and Wolf Children, right? Love that movie. And by the time the day of the signing actually came around, I found out, okay, I need to go to the Funimation booth after looking around and finding the ticketing place for the regular signatures, but then going to the right place. They were like, oh yeah, all the tickets are sold out.
Wow.
You know,
so could you have just gone online like a week earlier and prepped yourself?
Oh yeah, no, this is what I would tell myself. So not really, maybe,
not
but
really.
Even though there were 100,000 people there, you expect it to be like this well-oiled machine. Like,
and it's not.
Like it's not. Like, they do their best, you know, and you can tell they've, like, you know, people would say like, oh yeah, they've learned a ton from, like, say, the previous year, but they're still scrambling. So
right,
you know.
So expect the worst in that regard.
Expect the worst in that regard. Be kind to the people that are like managing the lines, but realize that it's not a well-oiled machine. You'll have to jump through some hoops in order to get to the things you want to.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah. So what were the things that were like the not kind of the practical things to be ready for, but like the awesome things to kind of like condition yourself to be, to get the best out of it.
Right.
Like,
so there were cosplayers everywhere.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun because like, you don't know how awesome it is. Like, you didn't know you wanted to see Class 1A and Karasuno in the same place at the same time, posing for a picture until you see it. And then you're just like, this is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. You know, I need to take a picture.
Okay, that's cool.
Or 20 Megamines. All in a group cosplay. You know, or whatever.
So with regards to cosplay, it's everywhere.
Oh, it's everywhere.
So bring a camera.
Yeah, bring a camera. Like, your phone can be fine, you know.
But like, did you want to take video as well so that you would have like maybe extra memory space for your camera if you were thinking ahead on that? Maybe. I don't know. Like yeah. But it was pretty awesome seeing so many people in amazing cosplay for stuff. That's cool. I don't think I know how much I would enjoy that until I see it.
Right. I didn't really either. And then it's like you see a Saber that is in like a perfect Saber cosplay and you're just like,
That's so legit. That's so legit. Yeah. So like, how about individual people that like say, you know, personalities or guests or whatever that you want to meet?
You see a lot of people there. Okay, so
what were some of the ones that you kind of had stand out?
Well, so I'm on Gigic's Patreon, so I was going to Anime Expo in particular as a first convention because he was doing a meetup, so I got to hang out with him. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. But I also got to see a bunch of other people. The what's the name of the YouTuber that does the entering fandoms?
Coley does things. Yeah.
Just, you know, randomly saw her when I'm in line to get into the convention center, right?
That's awesome.
Like, you're you, right?
Yeah.
And then what was it? To Ishtar. So he does like piano like translations of like anime music and stuff.
Okay.
When I get there, right, and I'm about to go into the convention center for the first time, he's standing right there near the line playing Cruel Angel's Thesis from Evangelion, just on the piano. Just on the piano, right there. And it's like, this is amazing. Like,
here he is.
Yeah, here he is,
What were some of the other people that you met?
I got to meet Emily.
Oh, cool.
I got to meet Emily.
From Lee and Lee.
Yeah, from Lee and Lee. That was really cool. And then I got to, well, not really like meet the anime man, but I got to like shake his hand, after the Overlord panel, and just be like, oh my gosh, yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Any
voice actors or production people?
So okay, you guys know how I love a silent voice, right?
Right.
And okay, I mentioned this in the unboxing video, but I got to meet Kensuke Ushio and get his signature. And
the OST guy.
Yeah, the guy who did the OST. And that was amazing.
Wow.
That was so cool.
That's legit.
And then, I got a picture with Bryce Papenbrook.
Oh, nice.
And then I got a picture with Cassandra Lee Morris. She's the voice actress for Taiga and QB and she's one of the characters in Your Name and Sword and Lion Count, all that stuff. And then most of the actual like voice actor people I didn't get to take pictures with because I didn't realize how those things worked.
Okay. You said you had a story. I think it'd be cool to share this one here because a lot of people might not have watched it in other videos and stuff. But you got to meet something witty entertainment.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And tell them that story.
So I was going around because the first day I kind of just realized that like I knew nothing about what was happening. Right. So I just basically went around in the merchandise area and the fan art area down below.
Okay.
And basically just scoured the area because I was like, okay, I'll get this done today and then have a game plan for tomorrow.
Gotcha.
And I went to, I saw Team 4 Star's booth and Something Witty Entertainment's booth. For those of you who don't know, Something Witty Entertainment does the SAO abridged.
Yep. And Team 4 Star does the TBZA.
Yeah.
That and others things,
I like, got like a t-shirt and stuff, and got them to sign it and everything. And I was like, nerding out like, oh my gosh, I'm, big fan of your guys.
That's so cool.
My brother and I made a reaction video to, one of your things. And one of them was like, I don't know if it was Kirito. It was Kirito and, one of the other people. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but, he was like, wait, that's how I know you. And I was like, he was like, you do My Hero Academia reactions, right? And I was like, oh. And he was
That's so cool.
And he was like, so we're like, wait, is your brother here? And I was like, nope.
Right,
this is my vacation.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh well, you have to give him a lot of crap for us, don't let him live it down,
Right.
I was like, oh, I won't. I will hold it over his head proudly.
That's awesome. So merch then, like what were some of the things merch wise that were like really surprising for you to see there? Even though you expect there to be a ton of merch, you're like
a ton of t-shirts and a ton of art. Like,
okay, so the art was crazy.
And on that, one of the other things, make sure you they have these there to buy. Most likely, at least they did there, but. Make sure you have a tube, like one of those tube things for like holding art and stuff like that.
Posters and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because
cylindrical,
solid, sturdy. That way you can just keep them in there and they're nice and safe, and you don't have to worry about them getting crushed.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Otherwise that does happen.
If they didn't sell one there, you would have been kind of screwed.
And now I have it here, and it's all chock full of stuff.
And now you can bring that to RTX, and there you go.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Okay.
I also got to meet Mouse Luna. That was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So overall, with this whole experience, the Anime Expo, would you do it again in a heartbeat, or would you kind of like think about it? Like,
I would absolutely do it again.
Okay, absolutely do it again. Like just 100%.
Now it might not be like Anime Expo specifically, because I might look and be like, okay, since I've experienced Anime Expo, I'm gonna like search around to see like where like specific people that I want to see are going to, or things like that.
Is like Sakura-con a big one, or
that's the big one near here. I don't know how many people like big names and stuff go to that, but like one of the things I was kind of secretly hoping was that like the Critical Role people might be there since they live in LA. But they weren't there, whatever. So, like, that might be something where I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go to this specific con because
sure.
they're going to be there or something.
Okay, that's awesome.
It was awesome.
Well, hey guys, you got to hear about his Anime Expo adventures and stuff. And if you are going to your first anime convention or just big convention, fandom convention of any kind, have fun, but take some of his tips to heart. I can see a lot of them are kind of obvious, but ones that you don't know how important they are until you're actually there.
And shower at least like maybe twice a day.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
especially because these are in the summer a lot.
Well, right, yeah, like
hot
like
environment.
Yeah, for in LA during a heat wave, that was a very big thing.
How do you even make that work, though? Don't you have to leave the convention? Like...
Oh, yeah, so just in the morning before you go into the convention and after you come back. So.
Oh, well, that's obvious.
Well, yeah.
So you're not meaning leave the convention and go.
Basically, just whenever you get a chance.
Like, whenever you're at the hotel.
Yeah.
Take a shower.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and depending on where you're at, a hotel might be better than an Airbnb, because the place I was at, nothing against that place in particular, but they didn't have air conditioning.
Oh my gosh.
Which was an issue in LA during a heat wave where it got up to 107 during the day, and at night it got down to the high 80s.
Madness, I tell you. Madness.
So that's something to just keep in mind.
Okay.
And drink a lot of water.
Yeah, drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
all right, guys. Well, that's awesome, dude. Now we're going to get into the Q&A section of the podcast here, where we take your questions from the previous podcast and answer them here.
So if you have any questions for the next one...
Yep, leave them in the comments down below.
Yep.
And we'll get to them in the next one. So the first question's from Lark. What are your thoughts on narratives in games? Are there any advantages to having the story be very simple or even optional through hidden notes and such? Yeah, I think one of the best things about having lore in a video game is that you don't have to tie it into some great, single narrative.
Yeah.
You can just have random stuff be on the sides of the story and stuff that are there optionally for those that are interested in that type of thing.
But then,
which most people aren't going to be, but then there are those that are, and they'll be like, oh, this is fun.
And specifically because most people are there for the gameplay, it serves as a kind of like breaker or filler kind of in between the stories, so you can tell the stories that you want to tell, but you don't have to worry about the connective parts of stories that can make like books and stuff sometimes boring for people because it's a game.
Yeah, I would say that if I am playing a story game, a game that has story of any kind, is very much one of the top reasons why I'm playing that game. I don't play games with little to no story. It either has no story at all, or it has like all story.
It's either like Smash Bros. Or
like
The Last
Knights
of
of
Us
the Old
or
Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, exactly. Renny Santos asks, what do you think about Horikoshi? What Horikoshi did with Izuku and Shigaraki. Izuku lost the superhero part of his mentor, but still has him around, while Shigaraki actually got his mentor taken away from him, although neither mentors died. That's a very interesting thing to bring up, is that it's
a great way to do parallels between the main character and the antagonist, so there's that.
Right, but it's also an element of loss, in that that they both lost something after that fight.
And sacrifice.
Yes, but the thing is that that loss was essentially done independent of them, so they didn't have any choice in the matter.
Right.
And Shigaraki actually, in a very kind of touching moment, was trying to be like, no, don't do this.
Right.
It's not going to end well for you.
Right. Villainous virtues.
And All For One took away his choice and teleported him away.
Yep.
So yeah, I really like it. I don't know where the parallels are going to stop.
Yeah.
And or if the development of Shigaraki will continue to separate him further and further from Deku, or make him more and more like Deku, just on the other side of the conflict.
Because they've been doing the hero's journey for not just the hero, but the antagonist as well, which is really cool.
Which is legit.
Anthony Enzor, here's a question for you. How do you kill an important character without finishing their character arc and making it feeling cheap, or like you're just getting rid of them for no good reason?
And they don't want it to feel cheap.
Right, exactly.
Or like you're getting rid of them for no good reason. One of the ways that you can do this is the character arc could be perceived as being one way. So the character arc seems like it's going in a very specific direction.
Oh, sure.
But then you have a death that cuts their character arc short, but you still give the character some element of agency, so they get to choose how they die in that moment, and have them maybe have some element of passing on the torch. They
Sure.
They resolve a good chunk of their character arc at that ending part where they die. But there's obviously an element of sadness of where, no, they lived an unfulfilled life. They didn't finish that. So make sure that that aspect is communicated beyond it just being a, oh, well, they're dead. Now we just move on.
Because deaths are about loss, right? Yep. And that's what makes them feel like hard, right? So if you make it so that the readers are actually losing something, then fantastic.
And even better with the characters connected to the person that died. So there you go. Pepperkun asks, favorite ice cream flavor? Well, I'm a basic bitch, so I'm a cookies and cream, like, ice cream person. I have had crazier ice cream flavors out there. Like, I really do like all kinds of sorbets. Those are really good.
Sure.
There's
pumpkin can be amazing.
Homemade pumpkin ice cream that tastes like pumpkin pie is just so good. What about yours, though?
Neapolitan.
Oh my god, you... Tanya, the future writer, asks, hi again, thank you ever so much for answering my questions and just being you. Oh, no problem. You guys, totally awesome. So here's another question. How do you write a really good hero and villain dynamic? Well...
general question,
that's a very general question. So
parallels are good?
Yeah. How do you write... and sorry, but can't help it. Here's another question. What are the main aspects of world building, and what type of world do you like, sci-fi or fantasy? Well, we like both.
Yeah, sci-fi with fantasy aesthetics is great.
Yeah, I think I prefer fantasy over sci-fi.
Yeah, me too.
The main aspects of world building, that's again another general question. I think... Okay, go for it.
Okay, so with world building, a lot of times people will do... wide but not deep, right? And that ends up making it feel like kind of cookie cutter sometimes, right? Because it'll be like, oh, generic fantasy world or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, I've seen that template before.
Exactly. But if you take a specific thing, right? Like a city, or, you know, how they cook, or whatever, right?
Right.
You know, the economy. And you go deep into that, then it'll feel like a much more rich and lived in world, because the characters are experiencing something specific, so it makes sense for you to go deep into that. And then the things that they aren't actively experiencing, it's okay that you're not going super deep into, because they assume that that's still filled in to the same depth.
Gotcha. So that's not really what the question was, but that's a great answer for something. So
be specific with the world building?
Yeah, the main aspects of world building are basically choosing how you want to communicate the environment to the characters that are in the story. So, Jacob said, a way to do that in a unique way is, go into deep details on specific things that separate it from the real world.
Because not everyone can be Tolkien and go super deep on everything.
Right. So, I think this warrants a follow-up question, because if you have some level of application as to what types of world building you're interested in creating, ask us a question about that, because, it's a bit too general, but it's a good question. Varley asks, so what is your dream spin-off series? Spin-off. So spin-off being like
Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mean,
just more of it.
I mean, or something else like,
in the world of Avatar?
Yeah, like...
that's not my dream, probably.
Really?
No, because the thing is that I don't want just more content in specific universes because I love the specific universe.
Okay.
If I was going to do that, I would want something that would be in a world that I just can't get enough of. Like...
Okay.
Like I like the characters of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The world is fantastic, but it's the story combined with all those other things. So I think my dream spin-off series is actually like Star Wars, like Old Republic stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mandalorian Wars. That just Mandalorian spin-off series. That would be so amazing.
Yeah. I want Old Republic Star Wars stuff.
That would be so awesome.
Antonio Roja Cortez, what is the point of a story beginning in media res? Oh, I love this stuff. Yeah, and then using the 1 week earlier move. So okay, I'm with you. It's a very weird way to do things here. Now I'm going to follow up with what they said here. It never made sense to me after the story catches up to the present. What was the impact of using that maneuver over more conventional foreshadowing besides as a hook? As controversial as it is, and as the only famous anime I've never happened to hear you guys talk about, what are your feelings on Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Okay, so separate question.
Separate question. So the whole thing with using a story to begin in media res is that, for one, there's a different kind of anticipation you have built up by actually knowing what the ending is. So it's obviously kind of a cheap way to avoid, people not guessing correctly where the story is going. You just make it obvious and simple and saying, hey, like, this is going to happen. Like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's an episode where Toph starts off the episode getting caught, and she's like, how could you do this? You betrayed me. And it shows Katara, being the one that captures her, and then suddenly they're like 2 weeks later, and you're just
or earlier,
or whatever.
And it's like, And I feel like a lot of the times this one is used badly because of the examples of where it's used really well in things like Berserk or whatever, where they basically take the fact that you know what's happening and they make that be a bonus rather than a penalty.
Right. I do think though that giving away too much in that beginning bit that's essentially thrown forward in the future
ruin it.
It can absolutely ruin it. So you want to be very careful about what you're showing actually in those moments when using in media res.
And then Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah. We have a generally positive association with the show.
I don't like episodic shows normally, but I really got into it, even though it was sort of just the monster of the week type thing. I really enjoyed it. The ending was weird. But, I mean,
but that's nothing you haven't heard before. I would say my feelings on it are very similar, though, to what I saw in a video describing NGE, was that the scale to which you hate yourself will increase your like of the show.
Or at least when you first watch it.
When you first watch it.
One of the things that I really like about NGE that I feel like a lot of stories could take from it is that it keeps things simple. So a lot of times people get bothered by Shinji because of, he just couldn't get in the goddamn robot. But the fact that they had that be a main theme of the story and held true to it for so consistently, that was pretty cool.
That's just such a weird statement to say, like, NGE kept things simple. It's like, I
mean, they did kind of
they really did.
They got whack at some parts, but but they kept to what made them unique.
Oh man! So the show in itself it's very influential. It's a show that you can see has influenced specifically a lot of the way we do certain types of kind of weird sci-fi, when you see the sci-fi that has some kind of Gynax, kind of twist or what have you. We're like, so here's some hints as to where that stuff kind of came from, at least in the sci-fi genre. So good stuff, but a little bit whack at the end.
Good opening.
Yeah, it's a great opening.
Mayeli Sol, how do you do to make a main character original? I mean, not a cliche, someone that really takes your heart. Greetings, guys, hugs, I love your reactions.
Thank you for the kind words. So I think the gist of this is that when you want to make a character original and not just a cliche, I think there's actually a really subtle thing that you gave away in the question here that's gives the answer, actually, is that it's not a cliche. You use multiple cliches in combination. So the whole thing of having an original MC is like, most every MC out there has already been done.
Right. So there's nothing really
new. Yeah. So what you do is you take the combinations of things that you like or would like to see in an MC, smash them all together. And just see what comes out of that. I do think, though, that people who have seen enough stories are going to be able to separate and identify the cliches in combination.
Right.
But if you use those and have some of them be stark enough contradictions with themselves that people are like, oh, well, this is different. Like, I haven't seen, this character who has this cliche, but with this very weird other cliche.
Exactly, because cliches exist for a reason. A lot of the best characters out there start as cliches, and then they get that depth, that contradiction, that, whatever that makes them really own the cliche they started in. And, that's how it works. So make them a person, and then it doesn't really matter whether they're super original. They'll love the character.
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
My gosh.
Fangirl for eternity. Do you guys have a girlfriend? Because my sister has a huge crush on Caleb.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. So, no. Thank you. I am not really, I'm not really looking for a girlfriend right now, but I appreciate the compliment. I know this is your sister, but
I wanted to make sure this question got it.
You're so funny. Yeah. All right, well, yeah, that's the answer to that question. Christian Magram asks, are there any really pivotal moments in your life that you write stories to represent or write into your overall narrative? Yes. Obviously, you don't have to be specific. I was just curious.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of willing to be specific about some things. I think that there were two moments that kind of are working in conjunction with each other, and I kind of meshed them together. One was when we moved for the first time. We moved as a family to a completely different area, and I lost all my friends. Like, I literally just lost all my friends. I had, like, one or two that were able to somewhat keep in contact with, but the distance was so much so that it all wore out over time. And I used that time in conjunction with the, if I took that as a story narrative point, used that with the point where I struck off on my own for a bit and meld those together, you can come up with some really cool story moments for characters that go through just dramatic shifts in their life.
For me, and again, I know you didn't ask specific, but so we had 3 foster brothers. That we brought into our home, and they were with us for like 12 years or something.
Yeah, something
ridiculous.
like that. A long time.
They're
brothers.
We grew up together. They're our brothers, right? Yeah. But over time, they ended up running away.
Yeah. They just ended up deciding to leave.
Yeah, they just decided to leave because reasons.
Yep.
That hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So that is something that you will definitely probably see even in the book that I'm writing right now. So
yeah, families on some level go through the
more
worst.
Than blood.
Well, yes, they go through the worst kind of separations, despite them actually remaining strong as a family unit.
Right.
Like it's not that the unit itself as a family will crumble. It's that it'll fray along the edges.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like it'll crumble, but
Right. Yeah. Hesoyam asks how to introduce a new power in the middle of a decisive fight without appearing like a Deus Ex Machina. Well, you don't. That's the short answer, but let's go for the long answer here.
Because you can do anything in writing. You just need to give it the proper attention.
But if you don't want it to appear like a Deus Ex Machina, one of the best ways to do this is you have this new power that is being introduced in the middle of a decisive fight. So this is a very specific set of circumstances here. I'm saying this answer doesn't work if you want to set up like at the end of a fight or the beginning or not even in the fight and have it introduced earlier. So what you're saying is introducing it. So what I would say is have it be a thing that they're working towards, but you haven't seen them actually utilize this. You just know that they've been trying. They've been trying.
That way you're expecting the Deus Ex Machina kind
of. So you're expecting it to be successful. The Deus Ex Machina elements is that they're going to be successful in utilizing it in the middle of a fight. But here's another thing. You can have them fail a couple times before the middle of the fight where it actually is introduced. Now, when you say introduced, what I think one of the things you're specifically talking about is, let's say we're in an anime where a character has some OP mind powers or something like that. And they've been using these mind powers all this time, but suddenly they decide that these mind powers will give them telekinesis. And up till this point, they've only had telepathy. Why do they have telekinesis all of a sudden?
Yeah, that'd be really confusing.
That'd be Deus Ex Machina.
Right, but if you made it so that the very nature of their powers was something that is ambiguous and chaotic and not really fully understood, then if something new comes up, then you can do it and have it really work, right?
Yes. Another thing is that you don't have to have it be successful. So the reason why people call things like this a Deus Ex Machina is because suddenly it solves all the conflict problems involved in the story. What you can do is introduce new crazy powers in the middle and have them be absolutely useless to solving the conflict.
Oh no, it's not enough.
Have them create new conflict.
Sure. One of the other things I would say now, from the way you phrased this question, I would say it tells a lot about the story you're trying to tell.
Right.
You know, battles to resolve conflict and things like that. You know, you're not talking about like an argument thing or anything like that. And I'm guessing you're talking about the main character, but you could have this happen with the villain.
Anyone.
You could, because especially if they're not a perspective character,
Yep.
then it's way easier to do it and have it not be a Deus Ex Machina, especially if you know that the character is full of surprises or whatever, right?
Sure.
Because then they pull out something new and it's like, well, crap, of course they do. Like, you know, you're fighting a D&D
That's what I was going to say. This is a D&D villain
and
kind
suddenly
of thing.
you find out they have a legendary resistance and you're like, well, this just got a lot more interesting, you know?
They have 7th level spells. You're like, wait, they're that high of a level? What? Uh-oh. Run!
Mistakes were made.
This is a dungeon we will revisit at another time. Time.
So
cut our losses and run.
You can totally do it. You just have to get creative with it. But
Lucas Spear asks, and this is the final question, would you guys ever want to be like your own Rooster Teeth? Have your own company making animated stories? I would like to see you guys make your very own stories. So we haven't really thought about it that way, but what we have thought about is ways that we can incorporate our creative talents with other people's eventual like artistic talents or just some kind of media creation talents, and then maybe produce some of our own very own content like that.
To become something like Rooster Teeth would be amazing.
That would be really cool.
That would be awesome. But, you know, whatever that ends up being, or whether it's just... Because the goal is just to go from talking about stories to making some of our own.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So...
And, I mean, we've got stories that are serious, stories that are not serious, brewing around in here.
Yep.
And some of them are really just being held in limbo right now, because we want to have a united front on presenting some of these stories, because right now he's actually already making a story.
Exactly.
So if you want to check out some of his work stories, guys, he's got a newsletter he's prepping up. So get onto our
website,
our email address. Is there a page on the website?
There's a page on the website. It's front and center. You know, got big cover image of the book, which is really nice. And then it has information on there about how you can get on the newsletter and things like that.
Yes.
So
you can find out when it's coming out, when
all those first deets,
all the details and stuff.
Yeah.
Because we will be making stories. So that's the short answer to your question.
Right.
In terms of making animated stories, we both have no animation skills.
Right.
So the animation part would have to be done by someone else.
Right.
So
we'd have to learn, which would probably take a long time.
Yeah, and while we could just write stories and create books and things like that, I don't think that the world of nowadays, of today, basically, is willing to consume that much just written content.
Right.
They prefer a video format,
a
visual element to it.
It's all those light novels that are getting turned into anime, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, if we ever could make anything remotely resembling an anime,
that would be super awesome.
Dreams come true.
And
I want to make a Frisbee anime happen. I don't care if I'm the one that does it, but if people can make badminton anime and like volleyball anime, we can do an ultimate Frisbee anime. This is a national, like a global sport now.
Yeah. And I would be lying if I said I didn't think about my book being an anime as I was writing it. So, hopefully it's something that, like, if someone wanted to adapt it, it would be easily adaptable.
For sure.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, guys, thank you so much for your questions. This concludes the podcast.
Yes.
If you have questions that you would like to ask us and have them be featured on a podcast, leave them in the comments down below.
Yes.
And they'll be accumulated there and answered in next week's podcast. But yeah, until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.